What a bombshell story, okay? So, I've advocated really against MCNs for a long time. The only one I ever really respected a little bit was Machinima, and only because I enjoyed their content growing up. I would never recommend you joined Machinima, considering how bad they actually were to most of their creators. But the truth is that a lot of networks on YouTube now are pretty shady in how they deal with things. That's why I haven't joined one. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people say that they enjoy their experience with their MCN, and that's great, but for every story you hear about, oh, my MCN's great, you're always going to hear a complete nightmare. And when these nightmares actually do become the reality for a channel, you get a situation like what MatPat and Game Theory is dealing with right now. So earlier today, MatPat comes out with a bombshell video that is exploding on YouTube right now, detailing how Defy Media stole $1.7 million from him and 49 other creators. So throughout this whole thing, this 23-minute long video, he details not only the hardships he's dealt with in the last year on YouTube and obviously in his personal life, but details his story of working with multi-channel networks and then obviously being partnered with Defy Media. MatPat had to deal with the suicide of one of his best friends last year. He also almost watched his house burn to the ground in the California wildfires. And then, of course, one of the better parts is when his son Oliver was born. And I know there's been a history between me and Game Theory. Obviously, you know, I remember the video, guys. I'm well aware of the situation. You don't have to remind me. But throughout that, I've always maintained that I don't hate MatPat. I don't think he's a horrible person. I don't think that he deserves to be hated. Just because I don't like Game Theory doesn't mean that I hate MatPat. I hope most of you would realize that. But anyways, Defy Media is just was one of many multi-channel networks on YouTube. They were definitely one of the bigger ones. They had, I think, 50 creators total under their belt, including Game Theory. They represented them on the Game Theory channel, the Film Theory channel, and GT Live. Obviously, plenty of subscribers, you know, over a dozen million, easy. No problem, that they were dealing with just with one channel. So Defy Media did have a really good amount of influence in the YouTube community when it came to who they were managing. Well, unfortunately, the people behind Defy Media, or at least the person behind Defy Media, if it is just one person, unfortunately is kind of a scumbag. Now, Defy Media has gotten so much money from investors in the past that this situation should never have happened. MatPat said one investor even gave them $70 million because they were growing to be so influential. They were doing so well. They were managing so many people's YouTube channels and their careers. They were making so much money, or at least they were fronting that they were making so much money that they looked like a great investment. They had so much money rolling in that this situation should have never have happened, okay? And unfortunately, now that it has, and everything has played out, and Defy Media has now closed its doors, 50 people have now had their YouTube earnings held hostage by the people behind the company. And when I'm talking about their YouTube earnings, I'm talking about $1.7 million between 50 people has been stolen. Now keep in mind, it isn't like Defy Media really needed that money, okay? They got $70 million invested into them, and there was other investments being made too by other people that I'm assuming were reaching into the millions as well, if not the tens of millions, even maybe hundreds of millions, who knows? You know, I don't know. But MatPat did detail a couple more investments that were made, including the $70 million one. They had plenty of money into the company that it could have stayed afloat just fine. But in November of 2018, Defy Media did shut its doors. It no longer really runs or operates or exists. And along with its shutdown, okay, all these creators who have put in their hard work onto their channels have, you know, basically been earning income doing their job, now have had close to $2 million stolen from them by a company that was at one point getting tens of millions of dollars invested into it. Now, whether you hate MatPat or you love him, I think we can all agree he doesn't deserve to have his money taken from him, okay? He earned that money, Game Theory earned that money, and the 49 other creators also earned that money. That isn't Defy Media's money, that's theirs. How an MCN works, okay, is YouTube, when they do all your earnings and everything, they find out how much money you made, okay, they send your AdSense earnings to your MCN. So in MatPat's case, or these other people's case, Defy Media was getting their check from YouTube, okay? They were getting all that money, and then what Defy Media would do is they would take their cut out of that check. So let's say I'm signed to Defy Media, I make $5,000 in 1 month, but Defy Media takes 20% of my earnings for copyright protection and whatever else they're supposed to do. Most of the time, that's really all they're up for. In the modern age of YouTube, there's not much that you can't do on your own, okay? You can go get brand deals on your own. You can DM companies and get your own deals. YouTube YouTube often has partner managers and stuff, so if you have a problem with YouTube, you can just email your manager or your partner over at YouTube. They can, deal with a conflict for you. Really, the best thing to have an MCN for is just to have the copyright protection in case something happens. That's really all you're paying all this lucrative amount of money for if you're making it. So if I made that $5,000, it's going over there to Defy Media. They're taking $1,000 out of that, and then they're sending me my $4,000 that I earn. Basically, it's almost like paying a bodyguard, really, okay? They protect you a little bit, and they're taking a pretty good amount of your money. Now, obviously, the guys over at Game Theory and all these other channels, by the way, these are some big name channels that were under this network too. They're making more than $5,000 a month, okay? We might be talking overall, they might see like, I don't know, a couple million a month coming into their pocket just from the cuts they're taking off of these YouTubers' income from their ad revenue. So it wasn't like this company was really hurting for money. They had the income flowing in. They had the people in line. And then once again, you can't forget the investments that were being made, okay? They were getting so much money invested on top of that, probably, dozens times more than what they were making off ads. But then things start to go wrong. MatPat details how the company once asked if they could delay payment for a month. That way they could do something. They were having an issue. But in reality, what they were basically doing with all this money that they were holding from the creators were they were basically piling it all together, pretending that this company was making so much profit, and then they were getting more investments and things like that coming off of that, at least from what I understand. So basically, the company was almost inflating how much they were making by a certain degree, I guess, to make it look like they were doing better. They were getting these big investments, and then somehow they squandered all the money off investments, all the money they were getting from income, and then now this $1.7 million that's owed to these creators is now basically in the pockets of the people behind Defy Media, okay? And right now they're dealing with the issue of trying to get their money back. It's a complicated situation. Most people don't really understand how these things work because, let's be honest, most of you are not YouTube creators, and even then, a lot of YouTube creators don't have any idea about a network. They've never been offered anything. They're, they have no clue about that kind of stuff. Now, the unfortunate situation is this money is now residing in a place called Ally Bank, okay? And they are deciding who gets their money and who doesn't. So out of this $1.7 million, this bank, which basically had no real, dealing with the money until this whole thing happened, is now deciding who gets it, which means that creators might not get the money that they earned, okay? There's going to be a decent amount of these 50 people who aren't going to get a dime of the money that they earn. Can you imagine putting in months, maybe years of work, building everything up, and then some money that you had at your MCN is now basically not coming to you because someone at that MCN was basically inflating their ego with your money, and then basically the company falls apart because they're not managing it well enough, and then some bank tells you, you know what, you're shit out of luck. Now, I keep seeing this constant argument against MatPat that, MatPat has plenty of money, he's estimated to be worth millions. Yeah, he can be rich, right? But he's still owed that money. He made that money, he created the content, he earned that revenue. Therefore, it's his money. It doesn't matter how rich he is now, okay? He earned that, and it's not anyone else's right to take that from him. And it's wrong that the people behind him at this MCN completely scammed him and all these other creators out of their money. And while MatPat is significantly wealthy, okay, he's probably not the only person who's going to be dealing with the repercussions. There are 49 other people. Who knows who these other creators are and how much money they might be losing, okay? Somebody might be losing tens of thousands of dollars, but they're not fabulously wealthy, okay? They don't have millions of dollars in the bank, and they're not out here just making a significant amount on YouTube, They've had this money held, it's a significant amount, and they're not going to be getting it now, and that can really affect their livelihood. It can affect mortgages and all kinds of things. It's not just MatPat who's dealing with this problem, and I think that's what people are forgetting. Even if it was him, it doesn't make the situation right. It doesn't make it okay to take his money just because he's already got enough, You don't take people's hard-earned money, okay? People work for their money, and whether you think that it's work or not to be a YouTuber, he earned that. When you divide that amount up by about 50 creators, okay, you're talking maybe $37,000 a year or something. That is a significant amount of money. That is more money than a lot of people make. $37,000 can be more than what police officers make, soldiers, teachers, factory workers. A lot of people don't make that much money a year. Basically speaking, okay, for these creators, they're pretty much losing an entire year of an average person's work because some asshole manipulated their money, messed around too much, failed the company, and is now basically hoarding their money in this bank. And that's what sucks about it the most, okay? Because as a creator here on YouTube, like I said, I'm not partnered with a network. I wouldn't have to worry about something like this, hopefully. But I can imagine being in that situation. I can imagine myself in my shoes, what I would do, and how devastated I would be if tens of thousands of dollars that I earned through my hard work here on YouTube had basically been taken from me and I never would know if I'm getting it back or not. Can you imagine if your job basically shut down tomorrow and the whole year's pay was basically in limbo whether or not you would get that? That's kind of what these people are dealing with here. Regardless of how wealthy they are, how much money they're making through ads now, they earned that money, and the fact that some douchebag has ruined it for them is just horrible. And that's the sad reality of networks on YouTube. As of right now, okay, this is just the beginning of the end, really, for the MCN on YouTube. Machinima just shut down. A lot of other MCNs are already struggling because in reality, creators don't really need MCNs anymore. And even with the whole copyright thing, like, yeah, they're pretty good at keeping your copyright. You know, YouTube is starting to roll out tools for people to individually handle their own copyright. Eventually, YouTube is going to give you all of the tools and all of the prerequisites and everything that make an MCN worth it straight to you just in the YouTube dashboard. That's the reality of the situation. Back maybe 9 years ago, an MCN was pretty much necessary. They handled pretty much everything for you. They were basically your management. But it's gotten to the point where you can go apply for monetization through YouTube as long as you meet the standards for monetization. You can upload your own thumbnails as long as your account is actually allowed to do so. You can make all your own money, keep it all to yourself, manage pretty much everything on your own, and now even the best things about having a network are starting to roll into YouTube's, I guess, common standards. So lots of networks are dying out just because of that, but that doesn't even include the bad reputation they're starting to gain due to so many YouTubers having to deal with problems kind of like this. There's been YouTubers who have been stuck into contracts for years with a company that they hated being with, that they thought was taking too much money, and they lost tens of thousands of dollars working with a company they didn't want to work with because they signed a contract without reading all the details, or videos have been completely taken off channels because the MCN somehow retained the rights to the videos even after they left. Networks have been bad news for a long time here on YouTube. They're going to continue to be bad news, and with situations like this arising, I'm glad to see them starting to fall apart. They're not really that necessary anymore, and honestly, at this point, you're taking a bigger risk than ever by joining one. I don't need one personally. I can handle everything with my channels on my own. I don't need somebody to do the copyright issues for me. I can do that through YouTube now. You know, I have no problems that I would need a network to handle for me, and I feel like that's becoming kind of standard with other YouTubers as well. Guys, be careful if you decide to go with a network. MatPat and all these other creators deserve their money. I hope the best comes out of this situation. I would hate to see these people losing their money because some asshole, right? But that's just how business works sometimes. Unfortunately, people get screwed over. Unfortunately, sometimes the worst happens. Let this be a lesson, guys. Let MatPat's situation be a lesson for you. MatPat, I hope for the best for you, man. I don't know how I could help by at least maybe saying something will help, maybe some public awareness will help, but at the end of the day, it seems to be pretty much up to this bank to just give people back their money, which I'm hoping they do, obviously. Just a horrible situation, guys. I just wanted to let you know about it. I wanted to talk about it, you know, give my own personal experience and stuff like that into this, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're brand new around here on my channel, follow me on Twitter at @SubToOptimus. I post memes, thoughts, and updates over there. Join the Discord down below. Lots of great things happening there. Thank you to my channel members for your $5 a month. Your support helps my channel tremendously. You look at situations like this and that, you know, guaranteed little support by your community. It looks more and more, I guess, appetizing and good for your channel as time goes on. Thank you guys for supporting. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, losing his money and signing out.